This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
For years and years, we have looked at empirical evidence that these March elections produce abysmal results. We have looked at that, we have stared it in the face, and we have done nothing.
Spring elections in Sarasota, another attempt to move voting to the fall. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. We'll have more on moving city elections in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. And we begin tonight with the 4-year battle that made national headlines between the city of Holmes Beach and a local couple over a treehouse. The U.S. Supreme Court is refusing to take up the case, and as a result, the idyllic perch overseeing the Gulf of Mexico may have to come down. Lynn Tran and Richard Hazen say they received verbal permission from the city to build the $30,000 treehouse, but after the house was built, the city told them they need a permit. After they were denied a permit, they went to court, eventually to the highest court in the land.
It's our rights, it's also other people's rights. I don't have any word for it. It's you do according to the book, and you're going to end up losing everything.
The fight has been expensive for both sides. The city and the couple have spent over $100,000 apiece in the fight. We may be into the first week of 2018, but detectives are still trying to solve unsolved murders from 2017. There were 22 murders in Manatee County last year. That includes a puzzling unsolved murder during a burglary in early July. A reward of up to $8,000 is being offered for information leading to an arrest of a suspect in the case. In addition, $5,000 is being offered by the Gold Star Club of Manatee County.
A lot of times, information from the public is what can really push it over the top. You've got a good, strong case, but you just need that one last thing that will allow you to have the probable cause that you need to make the arrest.
Anyone with information about these cases can call the Manatee Sheriffs at 941-747-3011, or to be anonymous and be eligible for an award, you can call Crime Stoppers at 866-634-TIPS. Detectives in Manatee think they have got their person, a suspect in a number of armed robberies over the weekend. Joshua Rorba is being charged in connection to 2 armed robberies. He's also suspected in a robbery that took place Saturday night in Sarasota, and a person of interest from a robbery at the end of December also in Sarasota. 2017 was the 3rd highest annual death toll on record for manatees. 538 manatees were found dead last year. A huge factor was red tie algae blooms. 106 of the manatee deaths were attributed to watercraft collisions, which have accounted for 20% of manatee deaths over the past 5 years. The Sarasota County School District is considering plans to build a new elementary school. The new school would be located near Ashton Elementary, which is close to capacity. The new school is just a proposal stage right now, with the county wants to build the school within 5 years. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Gwen Graham is writing a personal check for $1,200 in an effort to get public information about the state of deaths at a nursing home following Hurricane Irma. A dozen residents at the rehabilitation center at Hollywood Hills died in the aftermath of the storm, which knocked out the facility's air conditioning system. Graham says she has been trying for months to get the public records from the governor's office about who knew what during the emergency and when they knew it.
The public records law is something that the people of Florida are entitled to get this type of information so that we can get the facts to make sure that we put in place safeguards that would prevent something of this tragedy from ever happening again.
Graham says she plans to make the public aware of the details as soon as she has them. The inaugural Gulf Coast K-9 competition took place this weekend, and Sarasota police officer Jake Nelson and his partner Bronson took first place in the obstacle course section. The course consisted of 5 different maneuvers, shooting simulations, and a balance beam for both the K-9 and the officer. Nelson and Bronson were one of 19 teams competing. All proceeds from the donations from the competition will benefit the Cape Coral Animal Shelter Paw for Patriots Foundation and the Holiday for Heroes Foundation. Now let's head over to our own top dog, ABC7's chief meteorologist Bob Harrigan. First alert forecast, Bob.
And thankfully, Alan, no worries about your dogs or pets being outdoors tonight as a result of the warmer weather that is now moved in. After a week of very cold temperatures last week, things have changed drastically here. 68 degrees, the dew point 61. That actually is going up, and that means our lows tonight will be above average. East to southeast winds are at 8. And the pressure is 30.07 inches. That's falling slightly. Now, there is an area of low pressure that continues to spin off the coast of New Orleans tonight. This area of low pressure is not associated with the upper level winds and the flow thereof, so it will sit and spin generally to the west and north of us once in a while, and occasionally bringing us a chance for a few passing showers on Tuesday and Wednesday. The rain chance not all that high, just a slight chance for showers anywhere from 20 to 30%. We are looking at temperatures right now across the state much milder. 73 in Miami right now, 70 into Key West, 64 in Orlando. The cooler reading 57 in Jacksonville, and that's not all that cold. Well, here's a look at your evening planner. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? Temperatures in the low 60s, and they'll have a few clouds around. We could even see a little bit of patchy fog forming, and temperatures dropping down, as I said, into the low 60s for lows. Boy, those weren't even our highs last week, so low 60s seem pretty nice as far as that goes for us here along the Sun Coast. Those winds will be rather light out of the east and northeast, and they'll stay that way through the overnight. Been seeing some interesting things, Alan, on social media, some of the different sayings like, I survived Florida's winter for 2018, and another one said we got a participation award for winter, for participating in winter in just a week.
The problem is when you run it, you know, into your friends and family up north, they somehow, for some reason, don't have a sense of humor about it.
No, they don't laugh, or they say, hey, I'm coming down in 2 weeks.
Yeah. See you at your house, Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Right.
And still to come, Sarasota spring elections. There is another push to bring them to the fall. How close are we to that change?
Invest in Kids is a $7.5 million project to build a new Boys and Girls Club in South Manatee County. I'm Caleb Grimes, and I was a club kid. It's where I learned important life lessons, leadership, integrity, responsibility, and baseball. Thousands of kids attend the Boys and Girls Clubs, and after years of use, their club is slowly falling apart. Help us invest in kids. Make your donation today.
It's time to take a road trip.
If you love the beach, Alabama's Gulf Coast has 32 miles of sugar white sand and turquoise water. Looking for a room with a view? We have them, beachside and bayside. There's incredible history. Whoa! And the seafood is fresh from the Gulf. Another round of shrimp for my friends. Alabama has a road trip with your name on it.
Which one you gonna take?
Performing on stage takes mental and physical preparation. But one thing I never thought to prepare for was cervical cancer. 91% of cervical cancers are caused by the human papillomavirus, or HPV. The good news is there are vaccines that can protect you or your children from cancer. I survived my cancer, but you can stop cancer before it starts. Talk to your doctor and go to thinkaboutthelink.org to learn more.
A promise was made, a promise that hit the beaches of Normandy, a vow that captured Iwo Jima, a contract that weathered Tet, a pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq, an IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Letting my friends online know I was quitting kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
I kept on trying, learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
We did it. You can too.
For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
If you live in Sarasota, how many of you voted in last spring's city elections? Hands, please. Adam, you counting?
Trying.
That's what. There is a new attempt to change that by moving elections to the fall. Adam Cellini joins us with more.
Yeah, Alan, to change the city charter, which outlines those March and May elections, a referendum is required to simply place that question on a ballot, which is why there's a new petition going around the city. Outside City Hall in Sarasota is a sculpture titled "Nobody's Listening," which is how former City Commissioner Suzanne Atwell felt anytime she brought up changing dates for city elections.
That is something that I wanted to discuss with the commission, and it was just left flat.
Atwell stepped down from her at-large seat last year, but is still fighting for election reform as co-chair of Decide the Date, the local group responsible for this. A petition for a referendum asking voters if they'd prefer city elections move from the spring to the fall.
We should not be relegated to an off cycle because it doesn't work.
Sarasota city elections held on March and May of odd years have sported a disappointing voter turnout in recent years, between 15 and 23%, as opposed to state and federal primaries and general elections, which draw 50 to 70% of voters in November of even years.
Certainly those elections always seem to attract the most voters, and I think it's up to the voters to decide what timing of elections works best for them.
Lately, however, it's been commissioners who decide. Newcomer Hagan Brody asked colleagues to consider such a referendum in October, but like Atwell before him, he was turned down, the commission voting 3-2 against posing that question to voters.
Why not let the voters decide this issue? I mean, that is what this group that is formed is trying to have happen. That's what I was trying to have happen on the commission, is putting this before the November voters to say, hey, do we want to keep this election where it is, or do we want to have greater inclusion, more numbers, and save the taxpayers $100,000 every time we have that special election.
Fellow Commissioner Jen Ahern-Koch is against joining a general election ballot for several reasons. She says joining a bigger election cycle could mean less campaign dollars to go around and also threaten to draw more party influences into the bipartisan race.
When you introduce a local election that is nonpartisan into a cycle where the election becomes partisan, then you're ultimately introducing political parties and partisanship into an election where it does not belong.
As for the extra cost, Ahern-Koch says ranked choice voting, which eliminates a runoff, could cut those down. Voters adopted this practice a decade ago, but didn't have the software to apply it. She also believes March elections are most convenient for our seasonal residents. But Brody says he's more concerned about the Black, Hispanic, and youth votes, which were 3 times higher in the fall of this past cycle.
I'm very concerned about the people that have one house that are struggling to make ends meet, and their voice, and making sure their voice and participation is included in city government.
There are around 37,000 registered voters in the city, and if 3,700 sign this petition by mid-May, the referendum will go on the November ballot, where voters can decide which season they'd prefer to cast their ballots. And Alan, it's worth noting that while the general elections do have a larger voter turnout, the August primaries in Sarasota County have had an average turnout of just 22% since 2010.
Adam, thank you. Who votes to put Adam on tonight's Trapezoid? All say aye. You got it. We'll be back in a moment.
It's been about a month, and I can honestly say I've seen the change in me. I went from being a depressed girl who didn't want help to this happy, caring girl who loves helping other people. I just really hope that people that went through what I went through get the help that they need, because their story is important and they are loved. Thank you so much for everything.
Florida Studio Theater presents the 8-time Tony Award winner Once, held over by popular demand. Captivating and breathtaking, Once is an unforgettable story about going for your dreams and the power of music to connect us all. Critics are calling Once engaging and heartwarming, outstanding, and a flawless production. Audiences are calling it phenomenal and better than Broadway. Once must close January 19th. Tickets can be purchased by calling 941-366-9000 or by visiting floridastudiotheater.org.
This is your brain. This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions.
Prescription drugs aren't as bad as street drugs, right?
Weed's legal, isn't it?
Drinking is worse than smoking weed.
Isn't it? Why
is heroin so addictive?
Molly just makes you feel happy.
I have questions.
Mom?
Dad, did you ever try drugs?
They're going to ask. Be ready. Go to drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Welcome back, and here's the question. Would you be more likely to vote in Sarasota city elections if they were held in the fall when we vote for president or governor or senator? Right now, city elections are held in the spring when turnout is usually a pathetic 15 to 23% of registered voters. Turnout in the fall is usually 50 to 70%. Supporters of the latest effort to move the election maintain it would make sense. It also saves money. One election in every year, a novel idea. Critics say if city elections are moved to the fall, well, we'll lose the unique attention we give to the city commission races, and they will be swallowed up by the presidential and governor races in the off year. Joining us for more is Public Defender Larry Eager, who is spearheading the latest effort. Kevin Cooper, the president of the Greater Sarasota Chamber of Commerce. John Severini, one of the ranked choice voting committee of Sarasota, who is opposing moving the elections, and ABC7 reporter Adam Cellini. And John, let me welcome you to that trapezoid, as we say. What is your main reason for opposing moving the elections?
Well, I agree with the premise of bringing more people out to vote. Democracy is better served with that. I oppose it because the moving to November would require an August primary. August is not a good month to have a primary.
That's when we have primaries anyway.
And right now your primaries are attended by about 20% voter participation. So you're not really increasing your voter turnout in the election that decides who the candidates are going to be. I think it defeats the purpose of bringing more people to the polls in November when the candidates are decided by a minority of the population.
Kevin, you're shaking your head.
But that's just not true. If you read the ballot language that we've put forward, what it shows is that city commissioners can only be elected in November. So you would have August primaries if certain numbers of candidates qualify for the election. So you would have a primary like you do in normal elections now, but you would have the actual election take place, the general election, in November of even number of years. So you would, while you would have the primary where you have equal or greater turnout, by the way, in the last primary election in 2016, what you saw was a couple hundred extra ballots turned in than you saw in the 2015 city election just prior to it, a few months prior. So this is not the case. You would see the strongest number of turnout in November when you actually elect city commissioners.
Larry, we've been down this road before. There have been a number of attempts to move the election to the fall. It's defeated every single time. So on one hand, haven't Sarasota residents spoken on this issue? What's the point of trying to do it again?
Well, I could agree with you if this issue were brought before the voters before. Unfortunately, it has been diluted with so many other issues contained in it, so that I think that we've never really addressed the simple issue of moving the election. We've confused the issue by including matters regarding the composition of the city commission, whether there would be a weak or moderate or strong mayor. None of these things are included in this initiative.
And what is the politics of this? Because after all, the city commission races are nonpartisan. You don't have Republicans running against Democrats, but word is a lot of Democrats do not want the city to move the elections because primarily Democrats do get elected to the city commission.
Certainly, you know, a conspiracy out there. I think, you know, Larry said it that I think this does get muddled, and what we have to remember is even what we're talking about right now is not moving the elections to the fall. It's more putting that referendum out for voters to decide, and it seems like you know, the conversation heats up every time it's something like this is brought forward. What's being brought forward is you know, the referendum of letting the voters decide if they want elections to move from the spring to the fall, and You know, it's come to a petition because, you know, city commissioners have voted it down in the past. So, you know, those are questions that really only city commissioners can answer. They give you the reasons, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly.
What about that, John? Why not just let voters decide themselves if they want to come and vote for these city races during the fall or not?
Fair enough. I don't object to that. What I do want is I want the voter to be well informed, and I don't think the voter is being well informed. In 2007, the city of Sarasota passed the referendum, got on the ballot. 77% of the population voted in favor of ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting will do a lot of what these gentlemen are trying to accomplish. And it has many other benefits besides, and I'll explain that.
There's nothing about this initiative at all that is against ranked choice voting. Here's the thing with ranked choice voting. Number one, it is not allowed by the state yet. So you need to wait for the state to allow for it to happen. Even though it's in our city charter, it cannot happen yet. But the other thing is these aren't mutually exclusive conversations. Ranked choice voting can happen in November when you have the highest number of voters turning out.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up on this topic. Moving city elections to the fall, we'll have more right after we look at the first look. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7, where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
My name is Julius. I have cerebral palsy. I work for Farmer Jeffy Weising Law Firm. I do a lot of data entry and scanning documents. I want to increase my working experience to make the company much better. At the end of the day, it's good to think of the day's work and to think about what I have accomplished.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to abilitieswork.employflorida.com.
On ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Webb. Manatee County Commissioners are set to meet and discuss the Anna Maria Island Beach Nourishment Project. We're going to tell you what this could mean for taxpayers and for the future of the beach tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
We'll take a look at the forecast showing lots of cloud cover persistent right straight through the next couple of mornings. We'll tell you what the rain chances are as well.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Army National Guard soldiers serve to give back to their country and their community. Their part-time commitment qualifies them for benefits such as health and life insurance, education benefits, and retirement and VA home loan benefits. Visit NationalGuard.com to learn more.
Our conversation on moving the city elections continues right after we get a check on the first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. We were looking at the weather headlines. They read like this: warmer work week compared to last week. Temperatures will be above average now as opposed to the extreme temperatures we saw last week. And there's a slight chance for a few passing showers over the upcoming days. So we'll see a little increase in cloudiness, but warmer temperatures too. And then a better chance for rain comes on Friday as a cold front. Not as strong as the last one, but a cold front will move through and it will cool us and dry us out for the weekend ahead. And a lot of clouds around today too, out ahead of a storm system. Also the subtropical jet stream very active over the top of us right now. We saw a few breaks in the clouds just around sunset this evening. And as far as rainfall goes, there are some showers to the west of us with some storms or lightning strikes associated with a trough of low pressure out ahead of the actual low. The low is still back here just off the Louisiana coast. There's the associated cold front. This low is really a slow mover. It's not associated with the upper level wind flow, so it's going to kind of sit out here and just hang out here for the upcoming 48 hours before it eventually dissipates. Then we'll see a stronger cold front move through as I mentioned, on Friday. Now, what you see down to our south, this is military exercises going on down there again. At least some of it is. This could be legitimate shower activity right there, but this definitely isn't, which approaches now on into Sanibel. This is an unusual pattern, as you would expect with military chef, which is the little particles that they use to disguise themselves from the radar. Now, as far as our rainfall goes, we have a slight chance for a few passing showers this evening. 68 degrees right now, the dew point 61. That number isn't crucial, but that's to let you know how cool things will get overnight. The temperature cannot go below the dew point, so we'll be in the 60s for lows overnight. East to southeast winds at 8 miles an hour. The high today finally in the 70s, 73 degrees, 71 is our average, so above average on both fronts. The low this morning was at 53, and only just over a half inch of rain reported thus far for this year. 57 degrees in Jacksonville now, 64, much milder in Orlando, and 73 now in Miami, 70 in Key West, and around town, all in the upper 60s, from Inglewood, Punta Gorda, Northport, Bradenton, and Cortez, all into the upper 60s there. The Gulf water temperature now at 59 degrees. In the year 2010, that Gulf water temperature during that cold snap got down to 47 degrees. So it's still a ways to go for that, and we're going to be warming up a little bit throughout this week. Our forecast tomorrow looks like this. We'll see partly cloudy to mostly cloudy skies at time. The rain chance only at about 20% for a passing shower or two, and it'll be into the afternoon and evening tomorrow. This national satellite and radar picture, well, not a lot going on over the central U.S. Things are starting to moderate, though, as far as temperatures go, considerably across the Great Lakes and throughout the Northeast. No below zero readings from Kansas City, Minneapolis, and Chicago, now in the 30s there. So that deep freeze is over temporarily, but there's some colder air on the way for those folks before the winter's said and done. Believe me, 40, the highs on Friday will be 40 degrees in Chicago, 38 in Minneapolis. For boaters tomorrow, looks to be okay. A light chop on the bays and inland waters. Seas running right around 2 feet. Tides upcoming on your screen. The next high tide will be at 6:44 and sunset at 5:53 tomorrow. So mostly cloudy and a bit warmer. 20% chance for showers and 60 degrees for your low. The extended forecast then. Tomorrow, 75, so temperature staying into the mid-70s through Friday. The better chance for rain comes on Friday afternoon and Friday night. We could see some showers and a few thunderstorms in the mix. And then we clear out, turn cooler, but not extremely cold for the weekend. Alan will be back with his guests right after this.
It's time to go boating, but first, don't miss the 17th annual Charlotte County Boat Show, January 11th to the 14th at the Charlotte County Fairgrounds. Show admission is free and on-site parking is only $5. January 11th through the 14th. Visit GoBoatingFlorida.com for more information.
About every 3 minutes in America, someone is diagnosed with a blood cancer. Light the Night brings together survivors and supporters to bring light to the darkness of cancer and to help fund life-saving research. Our goal is a world without blood cancers, and we're lighting the path to cures. The discoveries made in blood cancer research have led to breakthrough treatments for many cancers and other serious diseases. Help defeat the darkness of cancer. Join Light the Night today.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
I'm Deshauna Barber. In 2016, I was proud to win the title of Miss USA. What makes me just as proud is my service in the U.S. military. In the service, a soldier gains skills and learns values like discipline and leadership. That makes them an asset to any business that hires them. If you're an employer, on behalf of Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, remember to hire smart and bet on a vet. Visit saluteheroes.org or call this number to learn more.
Meet Blue. Blue's not feeling well. The prescription? Generic medication. Blue wonders, do they really work as well as name brands? Yes, generics and name brand medications do work the same. Even though they may look different, generics have the same key ingredients. FDA approval is equally rigorous for generics to make sure they're as safe and effective as name brands. And Blue even saves some green, making him a little less, well, blue. Talk to your doctor about generics and visit fda.gov/generic drugs.
It's time to go boating, but first, don't miss the 17th annual Charlotte County Boat Show, January 11th to the 14th at the Charlotte County Fairgrounds. Show admission is free and on-site parking is only $5. January 11th through the 14th. Visit goboatingflorida.com for more information.
Welcome back. We're talking about the latest effort to move city elections in Sarasota from the spring to the fall. And joining us for more is Public Defender Larry Eager, who is spearheading this latest effort. Kevin Cooper, the president of the Greater Sarasota Chamber of Commerce. John Severini of the Ranked Choice Voting Committee of Sarasota, who opposes moving the elections. And ABC7 reporter Adam Cellini. Larry, I'm going to start with you because some of the other opponents to move the election sent us this very tidy list of reasons why not. And when I look over it, one of the most compelling reasons is that city races have vigorous debates on unique issues to Sarasota. And if you have these elections in a presidential year or when there's a governor's race or a high-profile Senate race, it kind of just, gets swallowed up. And why not have an election when our own issues take center stage?
Well, there are a number of responses that I can give to that, but I think the one that directly impacts me, and I had an opportunity to speak with you briefly about this, it may resonate with some, but when you look at, I'm the elected public defender for the 12th Judicial Circuit. When I ran for office, I'm now in my third term, but when I ran, my predecessor was there for a number of years, and to even educate the general public that the public defender's race even existed and that I was an elected official, it fell upon my shoulders to campaign, to go out, to canvass, and to raise the issue. So for me personally, it kind of falls on deaf ears. Even now, when it comes down to it, the public defender's race, as compared to the city commission, is not nearly as relevant for the local population as it is for, as I said, my race.
But Larry, doesn't that, you're actually, you're exasperating the problem by moving it to November.
No,
what you're saying is in March you can't get any spotlight. Well, you're going to move it to November and compete with national elections.
Then you can make the argument that my election then should be on a special date as well. And then we said every single election.
That's the same point. Isn't the presidential election important enough? Isn't the Senate race important enough? Isn't county commission important enough? Shouldn't we just have an election every week, Alan? If that's the point, if all these things are important enough that they deserve their own spotlight, why would we ever have any elections on the same ballot at any point in time? It's really a false choice of saying this. And the other part of it is, it kind of presents this, the voters are stupid. You've got doctors, lawyers, teachers, TV anchormen. They can't simply manage to navigate this ballot. How could they ever do it if we don't separate it? It's insulting to the voters. It's insulting to the process.
We know how it does go. If you think back to last November and the ballot that we faced, you had the presidential race up top, you had a U.S. Senate race, but you also had so many judges and ballot questions that many people, when they get down to the bottom part of the ballot, they don't know who the judge candidates are, and they don't know
who decides that, Alan. You? Him? Who decides who they know? Do you take a test when you enter the ballot to be able to decide what you know and what you don't know? You never know what the voters go into and how they decide. And nor is it important really what they decide and how they decide. They might decide because they like someone's one policy here, one policy there. They get to decide. We do not know going into the vote what people know. It's all speculation, it's all conjecture. And I would submit to you that this down ballot fall off you just mentioned, it is non-linear. People bounce around. They might start at the top, might stop at 2, 3, and 4, come back at 5, go down 6, 7, 8, come back at 9. They make educated decisions about where they vote and why they vote based on what's important for them, and that is their prerogative as a voter.
John, it was pointed out to me a little bit earlier that the city of Gainesville also just voted to move their elections from the spring to the fall, and it was done almost without a whimper. I mean, doesn't it make sense from that perspective?
Alan, we think ranked choice voting is a much better process. When is less important.
Explain that simply, because many people may not understand what you're talking about.
So, City of Sarasota approved. 12 cities around the country do it now. There are 40 other cities looking at ranked choice voting. In one election, you get to select multiple candidates. Your first choice, if it's mayor, you can choose multiple, your first, second, third, fourth choices. So if your first choice is eliminated, your second choice replaces it. And you're, if it was a presidential election, you're allowed to vote for Jill Stein, as you know, if that was your party of choice, but then you could pick one of the major candidates as a backup choice, knowing Jill is not going to get elected. So it allows people to vote their heart, their conscience, without wasting a vote.
But is that a
democracy is better served by
issue than whether or not the election is in the spring or the fall?
This is exactly the problem with the previous times we have addressed the issue of moving the vote. We have diluted the issue with other issues. I don't know the ranked voting program and policies well enough to have an informed opinion on it, but it certainly seems that that could be incorporated regardless of when you have the vote. And again, when you have the vote, we're trying to maximize participation by the electorate. I want to expand and to be as inclusive as possible in bringing people to the ballot box.
And the interesting thing is, here we sit, you know, kind of halfway into this panel, and we're talking about the merits of whether or not to move it and why it makes sense to move it. And the vigorous debate that we might be having almost validates the question of, should voters have the opportunity to say whether or not they want to move it? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give voters the opportunity to decide the date.
Right.
And so doesn't all of this, Alan, lead back to the point of all of this, you know, reasonable minds might disagree. You have all these points on one side, doesn't that reasonably push the option to the voters, should it not?
Adam, the other thing I hear in terms of the uniqueness of Sarasota municipal elections is, in this city, the neighborhood associations have a lot of influence. If you're going to run for city commission, you better meet the people who are involved with these neighborhood associations. And the question would be, if you move these elections, are you basically taking away the unique way that you have to campaign for office in the city of Sarasota?
That has come up, you know, and speaking with Jana Heron-Koch, she didn't mention the neighborhood specifically, but she did mention the, you know, the aspect of going door to door and campaigning for your election that is coming up. And, you know, the fact of the matter is, and Larry mentioned, you know, that it falls on deaf ears because he had to work hard to educate people not only about himself, but about his election. But the fact of the matter is, it is a special election right now. If you are a candidate, if you plan on being a candidate, why would you ever want it to change? And I think that's why we see these things kind of get killed, you know, at the commission table where they have to approve a referendum. That's why we're seeing a petition out there, possibly because it is easier as a candidate for money, for campaigning, knocking on doors. It does appear easier that way.
I know you have a response to that, but I have a question, and and that's what we're here for. You know, when we talk about so many different things, we always wonder what the politics of it, what the partisan politics of it. And on one hand, we know that the city of Sarasota elections are nonpartisan in nature, but nothing is nonpartisan. We asked about the advantage in terms of how many Democrats feel about this. But the same question goes to Republicans, because there's been criticism that the race for governor is an off-year elections, and traditionally fewer Democrats vote in the midterms than they do during the presidential years. So would both of you be supportive of moving the governor's election to the presidential year, again, to maximize the number of people who are coming out?
To answer that, personally, having not really given a whole lot of thought to the subject, but to maintain some level of intellectual integrity, yes, absolutely. If we maximize the number of people who participate in the voting process to legitimize whoever gets elected, I'm in favor of it.
Kevin?
Yeah, I think there's a substantial benefit to staggered terms, where you see elections every 2 years, so you have staggered terms in the House. But in terms of a gubernatorial race where you don't need to worry about staggered terms, absolutely. Bring the vote to the voters. We know where they are. Let's bring it to them.
John, it's really kind of hard to argue about that.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that. I agree. Democracy is better served when more people participate. There are better ways to get people to participate. The state of Oregon has a mandatory mail-in ballot. Everybody gets mailed a ballot. They get 80% voter participation. Make it easy for the voters. Along with that ballot, they get information on each of the candidates. It's a much better system. I suggest to these gentlemen, there are other ways to get people to cast their votes.
And going back to the partisan thing, I think when you were talking to Adam about it, you know, when you look back in 2017, there wasn't just a spring election for the city of Sarasota. You had a spring election for the town of Longboat Key. And in March of 2017, you had a spring election for the city of Sarasota, and the turnout was just over 19%. You had an election in Longboat Key that reached almost 60%. We would not be talking about this as partisan or when you have it if turnout was where it needed to be, and that's why it's an issue.
Okay, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in a moment. Stay with us.
SRQ Performance Parts provides parts and accessories from over 300 manufacturers, so you can get that new manifold, carburetor, gasket, bolt kit, or nitrous oxide system fast. We'll help you beat the competition. Call or visit SRQ Performance Parts online today for all your high-performance parts and advice.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, B, console her,
don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Everything all right?
Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery? Sure. We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Ever since I can remember, I've been intrigued by industrial design and the optimization.
Wait, that's passion? Ever since I can remember, my passion has been industrial design. We need 3D printers for Miss Adams' engineering program so that we are ready to solve 21st century challenges.
Impressive. Think It Up is a new initiative to support student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classroom today? Think It Up.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Check out mysuncoast.com/dining, your guide to the foodie lifestyle.
And our guest joining us right now for final thoughts. And John, I'm going to start with you. In 40 seconds or less, make your case to keep these elections exactly where they are now.
Sure. Alan, I think Sarasota is in a unique position here. You can focus on local candidates. Keeping them in March allows people to just block out all the background noise, focus on what's going on locally, which I think is very important to them, and it takes the partisanship out of it. You move it to a general year election, it's going to get partisan. I think people are just tired of partisan politics. Keep it nonpartisan, keep it where it is, focus on, let the focus be local.
You know, Kevin, I've heard this criticism before when we have talked about even school board races in Sarasota County, that they are becoming such big money races that, you know, there are candidates who are raising tens of thousands of dollars for a school committee race, and that is part of the problem. Instead of keeping these races small budget, you know, old-time politics where you have to really basically knock on doors and shake hands.
Sure, yeah, but nothing about the proposal in front of this right now is about campaign finance. What they can do in March and May right now, they'll be able to do in August and November of even number years. There's absolutely no difference in the campaign finance laws that we're suggesting, nor would we. And so here's the real issue is, do we want to hold elections when there is the highest level of voter engagement? And do we want to give voters the opportunity to decide on that? Go to decidethedate.com, read it for yourself, get educated, and understand the issue. We can look around here right now and what we see, the city of Northport does this. What they see is 60% voter turnout. When the city of Venice holds their elections for city commissioners in November of even number years, they see 70% turnout. Mayor John Hollick reelected with a 70% turnout. Do voters want that in Sarasota?
Larry, what do you have to do now? How many signatures do you need on this petition?
He's the numbers guy. I'm just here for
where does it go from here?
We are in the process of collecting the signatures necessary. We have 180 days. The clock starts when we filed. I don't have the numbers that we have. I know that we have earmarked. We're pacing ourselves, and we look like we're on track. But it is a long and laborious task. It is the validation of the signatures that we have to go through that does slow the process and does make it costly.
Well, I'll tell you where we are right now. We have hundreds of petitions signed by registered City of Sarasota voters. We have organizations like the Sarasota chapter of the NAACP, the Sarasota chapter of the ACLU that are signing on board and endorsing this campaign because what they see as voter enfranchisement is critical to a representative democracy in this community.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight. FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired, just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Larry Eager is spearheading the effort, and Kevin Cooper is the president of the Greater Sarasota Chamber of Commerce. John Severini is with the Ranked Choice Voting Committee of Sarasota, who is opposing moving the elections, and ABC7 reporter Adam Cellini. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather, plus the author of the new book, Fire and Fury, speaks out against President Trump's action in terms of suppressing the book. We'll be right back.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch ABC7 wherever you are, on our live stream, on mysuncoast.com, on the ABC7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, dining with recipes, and My Suncoast Restaurant Guide. Visit mysuncoast.com. Click on the Apps tab to download the ABC7 My Suncoast app for Apple and Android.
Who else has been taking your prescriptions? Keep your medicine and your family safe and secure. Mind your meds. To learn how we can help, visit the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids at drugfree.org.
There was this big bruise on my friend's face. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to think her own nephew could have hit her.
I didn't want to see it. My mother's bank account was emptied, and a caregiver had taken control of it.
I didn't want to see it. My father's refrigerator. There was hardly anything in it. That's unusual for him.
It's tough to see that a senior citizen is being abused, physically, emotionally, sexually, or financially. Elder abuse is a crime.
So see the signs. Stop the crimes.
Hi, I'm Janelle Hale, founder and CEO of the National Breast Cancer Foundation. No one should face breast cancer alone. When I was diagnosed 36 years ago, there was no internet, and I had to make a decision with little information. Early detection saved my life. It could save yours too. To learn what every woman needs to know about breast cancer, visit nbcf.org/hope.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get a final check on the first alert forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Now some photos set in of the beautiful sunset, and this one was from Sunday. There's been a lot coming in lately as a result of these clouds from the Gulf of Mexico, some high clouds at times, and this is from Cindy, who watches this all the time. Appreciate that. And this one from tonight, Susan Humphreys from Terracea Bay in Palmetto, and that's spectacular. I believe that was from this evening. Again, keep them coming. Pics, P-I-X, at mysuncoast.com. Not the best of beach days. You know, we got rid of the cold air, but we got the clouds on the increase, and not making for the best of beach days, but nonetheless, pretty calm out there for boaters. And the satellite and radar imagery showing an area of disturbed weather here. This is a low pressure area that's weakening or filling, if you will. There's some shower activity embedded within this mass that I show you right here. This is a subtropical jet stream. A little weak disturbance will give us a chance for a few passing showers later on tonight and tomorrow. And you can see we had some freezing rain earlier into West Virginia, snow also into southwestern portions of Pennsylvania tonight. That freezing rain did occur all the way down south in Atlanta. Now that's all rainfall as things are starting to warm up there a little bit. Still getting a little bit of that freezing rain off into the eastern portions of North Carolina. And it was snow earlier today, but that snow has blown by pretty quickly. No serious accumulation of that, but cold air is on the way again behind another system over the weekend. 68 degrees, our current temperature, nothing cold about that. Quite comfortable out there. East to southeast winds at 8, the pressure 30.07 inches. Temperatures currently across the state 70s, 60s to 50s, but No 30s, 40s, and 50s like we saw last week. 57 degrees now in Jacksonville. And it's 68 in Sarasota, 68 as well in Arcadia. That seems to be the popular number. 70 in Englewood, Venice as well, and the Gulf water temperature now at 59 degrees. And as far as the futurecast is concerned, this particular model indicating a little bit more widespread rain, but I don't think it's going to be that active. We will see a few showers. And then for Tuesday, expect a chance for a few showers as well. Not a widespread rainfall event, a mixture of sun and clouds, more clouds than sun, but still warm temperatures. We'll see highs into the mid-70s with that main area of low pressure staying offshore basically. And looks as though we'll see partly cloudy skies by the afternoon, so a mixture of sun and clouds throughout the day. National Satellite and Radar Review showing the big story is that storm now working its way across very slowly the northern Gulf of Mexico, but weakening as it does so. Quiet in the central U.S., another storm system gathering strength out west. These are current temperatures. Quite a difference. I mean, that's just a spectacular difference in turnaround from what we saw last week. 33 in Boston. They must be thinking it's summer returning there. 35 in Washington now. 36 in Cleveland. Now here's a look at the long-range forecast model. I want to show you this from January 9th forward. And notice the blues are what we're seeing pretty much right now. But when you get in that deep purple, it really brings that Arctic air mass down. And here it comes again. But notice there's not a big swath all the way down here. We'll still get cool, but it's not going to be extreme like we saw last week. Well, here's the forecast then as boaters check things out. Looks to be pretty good. East winds. It'll be at 10 knots tomorrow. Seas running right around 2 feet. A light chop. The tide's upcoming on your screen. High tide at 6:44, and sunrise will be at 7:21. Mostly cloudy and warmer. 20% chance for a shower and 60 for your low. Here's that 7-day forecast. Warm all the way through Friday. Mid-70s. A better chance for showers and storms comes on Friday afternoon and evening as a cold front moves through. But notice we're not looking at the 50s and 30s there. We'll see highs in the upper 60s. We'll be a bit breezy on Saturday and a little bit cooler on Sunday. Al will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
It's time to take a road trip.
Alabama's got 100 road trips, and some will take you back in time to the Civil Rights Movement or even the Civil War. You boys play nice now. From Helen Keller to Hamlet. Check out these big guns. We're talking the USS Alabama. Alabama's got 100 road trips. Plan yours at alabama.travel.
Which one you gonna take?
Stay connected to your clients and new customers using ABC7 digital media services. Our team of professionals provide a wide array of digital services to help you get the most out of your website. We specialize in building and helping you maintain the most effective digital solutions for your business. It's vital that your online presence stands out, so our experts will equip you with the best resources available. Trust ABC7 digital media services to give you the right tools to grow your business.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Checking primetime headlines, the publisher of a controversial book on the White House is firing back at President Trump. The president's personal legal team is demanding Fire and Fury be taken off the shelves. ABC's Kenneth Moten has the latest from Washington.
Our farmers are our future.
President Trump in Nashville talking to farmers at the annual Farm Bureau convention. But en route to Tennessee, a White House official on Air Force One continued attacks on Fire and Fury and ex-Trump chief strategist Steve Bannon.
The allegations and insinuations in this book, which are a pure work of fiction, are nothing but a pile of trash through and through.
Top Trump policy advisor Stephen Miller on CNN also blasting the Michael Wolff book on the Trump administration. The president's personal legal team sending a cease and desist on publication. Bannon is quoted suggesting in the book a 2016 Trump Tower meeting Donald Trump Jr. set up with Jared Kushner, Paul Manafort, and a Russian lawyer to get dirt on Hillary Clinton was treasonous and unpatriotic. Bannon did not deny the quotes, but said in a statement, Donald Trump Jr. is both a patriot and a good man. In the Russia investigation, will special counsel Robert Mueller interview Trump?
My guess is that his lawyers are going to offer to submit some sort of written statement, something that assures them that he didn't do anything wrong. That's not what Mueller wants.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham on ABC's The View saying Mueller and his investigation need to be protected.
I don't think President Trump is going to fire Mr. Mueller. Let Mr. Mueller do his job, and Mr. Trump, our president, should focus on his day job.
President Trump has said he believes he will be treated fairly by the special counsel, and he and his team have been open in the Russia investigation. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
I, Oprah Winfrey, do solemnly swear. What do you think of that? We saw a nonpartisan billionaire win the presidency in 2016 with Donald Trump. Now we see a new non-politician billionaire run against him in 2020. Two friends of Oprah Winfrey says she is actively thinking about a run for the White House. This comes after Winfrey delivered a powerful speech last night at the Golden Globes on women's rights, focusing on the Me Too movement. Winfrey has yet to say whether or not she would run, but her longtime partner, Stedman Graham, is quoted as saying it is not out of the question. More than 200,000 immigrants from El Salvador could find themselves without a legal status in a few months. The Trump administration is ending the temporary protected status which covered Salvadorans who fled earthquakes that rattled the nation in 2001. Officials say El Salvador has recovered enough from those quakes to remove the protection. Protectees have until September of next year to find a legal way to remain in the U.S. or face deportation. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.